All right. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. I'm always confused with that. So, welcome to the Flying Fluffy Hockey podcast for members exclusively, live every day, Monday through Friday, noon. And yesterday, I did not make the video public for everybody to watch because we had some technical difficulties. My internet decided to not play along. Now, before I started this live stream, I literally did a full hour of testing my internet with both laptops using the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet cord and did not have so much as 1 2 second glitch. There was no glitches. So if this thing glitches out now, this dark spirits and voodoo magic being clearly done to stop me from going live at noon. I have no explanation. So let's just get started. They've already started posting the videos. Camp starts tomorrow, but everybody gets there today and does all their weigh-ins and all of that, whatever they do. Maurice already started talking about things. I saw a little bit of the Chucky video, and then I had to come on here and be live with all of you. Now, one of the things that was brought up with Maurice is something that I've talked about a lot, and that is, the target on the back, right? We are the Cup champs, and now everybody's going to give us their best effort. But I think we did that last year, and I kind of feel like that's what Maurice said in his press conference today. We pretty much got everybody's best effort last year, right? There's a big difference in winning the Cup and losing the Cup, but certainly against Eastern Conference teams, we got everybody's best effort. And what's interesting is Maurice actually alluded to something that I've talked about as well. He said, there's going to be a game in November, some West Coast team that's not so good that we're going to lose to. And everybody's going to think, oh, well, it's the Stanley Cup hangover and whatnot. And he says he doesn't believe in that. According to him, everybody has come in at least as good of shape, if not better shape than last year. And the little bit I did see from Chucky, he said exactly what I said at the beginning of last season when he wasn't playing well, which was the only thing he got to do last summer was rehab. He didn't really get to train. And today he made mention multiple times that he was happy that he was going to be able, he was able to train this year instead of just rehabbing. And so he says he feels great. Hey, Cuban, how you doing, brother? He says Panthers winning the Cup, positive energy. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. So, and Maurice talked about his summer, said it was very relaxing, very peaceful. Did not do a whole lot outside of the Cup activities and all of that. He said he just spent a lot of time at the cabin and just had a very, very peaceful summer, relaxed. Was not the kind of summer where he was just sitting back and reminiscing and all of that. He kind of just took that, moved it over there, had his vacation, and, now they're ready. Chucky talked about, being ready and actually preferring the shorter summers. He doesn't want to look at it as a shorter than normal summer. He wants this length of summer for them to be the norm, and 2 for 2, right? 2 for 2. And, he talked about some of the newer guys, and he talked about the first 3 days at camp where Maurice says he's going to do he's not changing anything. He says he's going to run the same drills and do the same things right down to the minute so that he can compare the results from previous seasons. I think that's really, really smart. I like that. They asked about, does the message really change because now they've won the Cup? And for the most part, he said no. Basically, he says, look, the message always is one game at a time. establishing our identity and the way that we play and the standard of play that we have, and then just let the results play out. Hey, Jackson. So let me take a sip of water here. Of course, I'm having a cough now. It's very, very humid outside. And when that humidity kicks up, that little cough I have tends to creep up. So that's all I saw so far. I'm sure there are going to be other interviews popping off during the day. They talked about Gaudreau a little bit. Chucky, they asked Chuck about that, and they spoke about that a little bit. And that does definitely, opening night for the Panthers is going to be a lot, right? You're going to have the banner. I would assume, assuredly, that they're going to have, every team would have some kind of moment of silence for the Gaudreau family. I would assume that would be the case, that they would do that first regular season games and not, preseason. So that first night, and then it's Boston, right? And, Maurice talked about this. We lost a lot of games to Boston last year. I don't know if we beat Boston during the regular season or not, but what Maurice talked about was he was happy with the games that we played against the Bruins, and just the result just didn't go our way. And that's kind of the mindset that he's taking. Chucky talked about, I just want to make the playoffs and give ourselves a chance, right? Which, for the most part, that's accurate. Home ice helped us in the Stanley Cup final. You know what I mean? Game 7 in Florida or Game 7 in Edmonton, there's going to be a difference there, right? Edmonton having to make that trip one last time, get out there in that humidity one last time. We talked about it in the last show, the last 5 minutes of that game, Game 7, that was everything. Everything that they're doing now, starting tomorrow, everything that those first few days is going to bring, all of the trials and tribulations physically that Maurice is going to put them through, that all carries forward all the way to the end of the last game, however that's going to go. We talked about it. Maurice talked about it, where the Reinhardt shot that was the game-winning goal, Stanley Cup game-winning goal. It was just a little, there's no room there, but the puck goes in instead of it clipping a shoulder and going out, or clipping a post and going out. It's all inches. You put in all the work, you establish your identity, you do every single thing right, and it still comes down to inches in a Game 7 of Stanley Cup final. So he's not going to change the message. There's no talk of, now that we won, we put it behind us, and now we have a new goal. The goal is always the same, and that is to continue to improve. And he talked about how there's some things that during the playoffs last year that they identified that they wanted to improve upon. And it's not going to immediately happen the first week or so at camp. But as camp progresses, there's actually things that they found in last year's playoffs that they want to work on and improve. So that's his whole mindset, is just keep getting better. Just keep getting better. Now, in the player grades that I did, there was, before I stopped, we talked a little bit about, have some of these guys, have they peaked, or is there still room for improvement? It's hard to think about, going down the roster real quick, it's hard to think about Barkov getting better. Could he score more points? Could he get more goals? Okay, yeah. But I don't think that would be a result of anything other than him just taking more shots. You know what I mean? And, like last year, why bother taking the shot? If you were on the ice with Sam Reinhart last year, just pass it to Sam. It's going in the back of the net, right? You just, everybody was just going to pass off to him at that point. And there's times when, Verhaeghe's that guy, right? Kachuk has had his times. But, can guys get better? I know Chucky made a big deal out of wanting to get better defensively, and he did. He did last year. he looks chiseled. He had his jersey on. He looks. I'm not going to say he looks thin, but we've seen different versions of him, right? The cheeks get a little bit pudgy. He gets a little bit bigger. He don't look like that right now. He looks chiseled. He looks like an ad for a pre-workout. You know what I mean? He's got his dimples are he looks probably ripped right now, which might make the sense because, like we've talked about, they tried to be a little bit less physical and a little bit more, wearing guys down with their conditioning, right? Is that Jackson? I got to blow up the chat to read it. He says, yeah. He says, maybe our power play can get better. It was okay, but it could be better. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise. Yes. Now, it wasn't really a big deal for the most part of the regular season because it was just Reinhardt. What did he have? Was it 27 power play goals? I mean, the power play was basically pass it to Sam. That was it. And they couldn't stop it. Right? And then they tightened down and they stopped it. And we just decided, well, we'll just move the puck quicker and just still get it to Sam. And it still worked until it started to pass off a little bit, during the playoffs. So yeah, there's room there. It's going to be interesting to see, who's going to run the power plays, right? Okay. Montour's gone. OEL is gone. You don't want Ekblad out there. So are you going to have Forsling out there, right? Is he going to be, power play number one? Somebody else going to run it? Maybe Boquist? I don't think you're going to have Mikla out there, right? So it's going to be different one way or another, right? Jackson says, I'd like to see our power play units shoot a little bit more. Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you. As long as the puck movement's going to be quick, I think that's the most important thing for our guys. They have a tendency, especially Barkov can kind of move the puck a little bit slower, unless when Barkov's at the top, when he's at the blue line, he can move it a little bit too slow sometimes. He can be a little bit too deliberate. I kind of prefer him in that spot just below the circle. I kind of, just above the line, below the circle. I prefer him there. It seems as though he's able to handle that puck and move it a lot quicker from that spot. Verhaeghe belongs, right? And I mean, I know Ekblad has some skills that way, but we just can't put him out there as the last man on the blue line because he's just too slow. He can't turn around quick enough if the puck gets behind him. So, and there's some new people. There's going to be a little bit of newness there, right? Tarasenko took a spot. He's gone now too. So you might have to see a guy like maybe Rodriguez step up and play a role out there. He's certainly quick enough, and has the right mentality. Last year we did not see a lot from Chucky that we saw in the first year. In his first year, we saw a lot more action right around the net. And then last year, not as much, especially the first half of the season. I think the assumption we would have to make is that it's just he didn't want to take any hits on that shoulder, right? So, who else, right? Is Bennett really going to be? I mean, Bennett can get out there. You don't know. Again, the biggest question for me with the power play is going to be which two defensemen are you going to have out there? Or are you going to go 5 forwards and let Barkov be the last defenseman? That's an option. But, Barkov is going to kill penalties too. You don't want to, you don't want him having to play 30 minutes a night. So we'll see. But that's a good point. That's definitely a good point where the power play could use a little bit. Our PK has always been good, but it's never been like locked down. Who was it? Was it Edmonton? Which team was it? Was it Edmonton that had been on some ridiculous streak with their PK there in the playoffs. I think it was Edmonton, but I could be wrong. So power, the PK, PK is going to be as good as the goaltending many times. Now, one thing that Maurice did talk about is we have 14 back-to-backs. 14 back-to-backs, which immediately gives Spencer Knight 14 starts. Just right off the bat, before you even talk about what's the rest of the split going to be, 28 games, 14 back-to-backs. So what does that leave you with? Let's do that math. 82 minus 28 is 54, right? Yeah. Okay. So if Spencer Knight has 14 starts on the back-to-backs and there's 54 games left, how many of them games? What's the split? 54 games. So if you go, if you went 27 and 27, that's interesting. If you went 27 and 27 in the remaining game, well, that would be an even split all the way around, right? That would be 41 and 41. Yeah, Jackson. Marie says there's 14 back-to-backs. It's crazy. There's a lot of road back-to-backs too. I think there's even a couple road home back-to-backs where we're on the road one day and then we come home. I don't know if I did a schedule review video. If I didn't, I'll knock that out here today or tomorrow. I don't remember much from the summer. I'm not gonna lie, man. Everything I did during the summer, I was completely on autopilot. So if Spencer Knight gets 14 starts that way, 14 and 14, there's 54 left. If you went 27 and 27 out of those remaining 54, then that's a 41-41 split. So if you wanted to give Bob 35, if Bob was going to get to like 50 starts, that would mean you would give Bob 36 of those 54 spots. And so then the split would be something like 50 and 32, which would mean Spencer Knight would get 18 of the games that aren't the back-to-backs. So I don't think you want Bobrovsky starting more than 50 games. I think you'd like to keep that number maybe even under 45, right? And that's up to Spencer Knight. We saw it with Stolarz last year. There was no worries. I think Stolar's numbers were actually a little bit better than Bob's. If memory serves me right. If they weren't, it was damn close. For a while there, I know his numbers were better than Bob's. So what's Spencer Knight going to do? We can't have. There's not a lot of room for growing pains there. The kid has to be ready. You know what I mean? We don't have any room for a 3.25 GPA. You know what I mean? Let's see. Cuba wants to know, where's Kyle? Kyle is asleep. Kyle is still asleep. Kyle stays up late. He likes to do a lot of the eBay work and his work late, and then he sleeps in, and I let him sleep in, and it just works for him right now. He's working on, adjusting it a little bit, but it also helps him when we got to stream the games, especially if we got, if it's a late game. He likes to be used to, he wants to be fresh and ready to be up late for the most part. He's young. Jackson said, we never had near identical road and home records. He says, we had near identical home and road records last year, not worried where the back-to-backs are, but 14 is crazy though. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so, we talked about it, Spencer Knight. Yeah, there's no more room for us to look at him and say hope. It has to be. He has to be ready. He has to at least give us what Stolarz gave us last night within reason. The worst that we can get at him is 2.6, 2.7, right? Got to at least have a 9.05, 9.07. I'm not. He doesn't have to have a 2.4, on a 9.29 or something like that. But he's got to be. We have to feel comfortable when we put him out there that we have pretty much just as much chance to win that game as we do with Bobrovsky. Now, Bob is going to steal games, and Knight is capable of stealing games. It's a giant Christmas present, but we don't know what's in the box, right? We know what we asked for. We asked for Spencer Knight before the assistant program when we thought he was going to take Bob's job multiple times, right? There's at least 2 times Stu and I came on here and we're like, that's it. Spencer Knight's the goalie, and then not so much. So we need him to at least be that guy. And if he is, then we can keep Bubba Brewski rested and ready for another long playoff run. Jackson says, as long as our defense is as good as last year and Knight makes important saves, we'll be good. Yeah. And that's something that, right? I mean, the defense is going to have some new names, right? We've got some new faces. Salary cap wise, I understand how we had, why and everything had to happen. I kind of was hoping we would have been able to convince OEL to stick around and take a little bit less money, but it ain't my money. It's easy for me to say that. So we definitely lost some guys there. And then the fourth line is just I don't want to act as though that fourth line doesn't matter, because it does. It clearly does. But what I remember during the free agency period, those 3 or 4 days as I watched the new names of the guys coming in, it was abundantly clear that Zito wanted to get bigger. And that was the biggest thing, was that, letting Lomberg go. So weird, right? I mean, Lomberg was like celebrating the cup win and then also, doing interviews about him now being, back in Calgary, right? That's where he went, right? He went to go play hockey with Huberdeau and Weegs again. And, eventually the Flames, maybe that's their tactic, is to just, as the Panthers lose players, they just all go to Calgary, and then eventually Calgary will be a recreation of the 2020 Panthers, but everybody will be over 30 years old, right? Next year it'll be Sam Bennett, right? So, which, by the way, as an aside, I don't know if any of you saw this. I saw this a couple of weeks ago. Maybe but I haven't been on Twitter, so I don't know what's getting talked about these days. But I saw a couple of people talking about, hey, could Sam Bennett want to go to be a Maple Leaf? And I'm like, what? Where are we getting this? And what it was is, I guess he's from Toronto and he goes there during the summer. And the comment, he was asked the question, and the comment he made was, I walk around and everybody always gives me, they don't like me, but I wish you were a Leaf, right? And that's what he said. He was answering a question, and I saw some Leaf fans taking that and turning it into rumor and innuendo that, Bennett wants to go play for Toronto when his contract is up for us this season. I got a kick out of that. That would be, look, anything can happen. Anything can happen, right? Thurman Thomas played for the Miami Dolphins, okay? Thurman Thomas played for the Miami Dolphins. So anybody can play for anybody. But I want to be a fly on the wall to say that he makes that decision to leave Florida to go to Toronto under the circumstances. And who knows how much, he's going to want to get paid. And that's one of the other things, facing us this year, obviously, is, for Hagee, Bennett, Ekblad, we've talked about it a lot. Every time Ekblad has a bonehead moment or a moment where he's not, Cale Makar, everybody's going to start talking about get rid of Ekblad and trade him now at the deadline. And I'll never say never. I'll never sit here and say this is never going to happen. But if Bill Zito trades Aaron Ekblad at the deadline, I don't want to open my mouth and say I'll do blankety blank blank blank, because then the son of a bitch will do it. Then he'll do it, right? But I just cannot imagine a scenario where if we are in playoff contention, right, and that he would make that move, that he would make that move. It just I can't ever imagine it. So the point is that I'm not going to be talking about whether we should or will or any of that with Ekblad. As far as I'm concerned, what I anticipate is a little bit of what we saw this year, which is it doesn't look like there's any more extensions happening. We're going to go the full season with our guys. Maybe we win again, maybe we don't. And then, there'll be a week in between winning the cup again and free agency like there was last year. And Zito will have a plan to offer the guys a contract, and they'll either sign it or they won't. There's probably money to keep all three guys, but, Leon Draisaitl just got $14 million. Jeez, right? So, I mean, not that Bennett's worth that, but Carter Verhaeghe, not saying he's worth $14 million, but of the three guys that could go demand a nice, that could go demand a hefty price, I think Verhaeghe is the one, right? I don't think anybody's going to be willing to overpay for Ekblad. And Bennett, the type of player he has, the injury history he has, I mean, he could get a nice payday, but I don't think I don't think he's going to be a $9-10 million guy. For Hagee, it's not just that he scores 40 goals a year. It's when he scores the 40 goals. It's a 1-1 game with 8 minutes left. I mean, let's be honest, Panther fans. All we're doing is waiting for Verhaeghe to score. And if we go to overtime, all we're doing is waiting for Verhaeghe to score. That's what was so shocking about losing those 2 games to the Rangers. Who remembers that? Yeah, we won the cup, but before we won the cup, we lost game 2 and game 3 in overtime to the Rangers. And that was scary because we don't lose in overtime. And we sure as hell don't lose in overtime in the playoffs. And we lost both those games. And you had to, you start thinking, oh no, the ride might be coming to a close here. I mean, don't forget, Rangers had a 2-1 lead. 2 games in overtime. Remember what happened to Carolina when they lost those 2 games in overtime. It was done. They were smashing sticks up against the wall. They never recovered from game 1. And then game 2 happened, and even though it wasn't 4 overtimes, the same damn thing happened. Chucky going, let's go, let's lead. It's just like, that gets forgotten because, the first 2, I'm not saying the first 2 rounds were easy, but, it wasn't really ever in doubt against the Lightning. And with Boston, I think we all kind of felt confident that was going to go our way. But the Rangers had a series lead there and had beaten us at our own game. That's our game. Get it to overtime. Give it to Carter. That's it. The game's over. Only it wasn't twice. So, and that plays into things that are going to happen this year, right? We talked about a little bit in the first podcast, the possible Eastern Conference Finals matchups. And it's like, on paper right now, I kind of feel like it should be the Panthers and the Rangers. Could be Bruins, Rangers. Could be Leafs, Rangers. Maybe. I don't know about that. That might. I think if I had $100, if you all gave me $100 and said pick 3 matchups, I'm going to pick Panthers, Rangers, Bruins, Rangers, and I don't know who else out of the Metro. When you look at that division, there's some good teams, and then there's the Rangers. I don't really feel like there's anybody in the Metro that I really feel confident picking over the Rangers to make it out of there. So then I guess I would say, Leafs, Rangers, the Lightning. I don't know what the Lightning are going to look like now. Yeah, they replaced Stamkos kind of ish, but that's like if the Panthers lost Barkov. It's just, it's just not, it wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's still Vasilevsky. Who's their backup? Am I the backup this year? Because that's usually the quality of the backup that they go for, right? It's like they build the whole team. Like this house, the house that I live in, it's huge, absolutely mammoth. It's 3,400 square feet. It's a 2-story house, split level. So both, it's even Steven all the way around. At the very end of the house is the huge master bedroom. I mean, it's massive. But what happened is they built the master bedroom and they put in the closet. And from the looks of it, when they were done building it, they said, oh shit, we left out the bathroom. Because the bathroom, they're just like, okay, quick, put up some wallboard here and here. And oh, here we go. I mean, the bedroom is like 30 by 20 and the bathroom is like a broom closet. So it's kind of like what Tampa does with their goaltending situation. It's like you've got Vasilevsky and then the backup is like a broom closet. And they just open up the closet and they're like, which one of these dirty brooms do we want to use today? You can only run that man into the ground so often, right? And especially in the East. The Western Conference, you can kind of skate and maneuver around not having elite goaltending. But in the East, not so much. If you don't have tip-top goaltending come postseason time, you're not going. There's too many goalies to get past. Now, of course, Boston lost Ullmark, but it was Swayman last year anyway. But between Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, and Shesterkin, one of those three guys, most of the time, is going to be the guy that's going to get hot, right? How many seasons in a row now has it been Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky out of the East? It's 5, right? I mean, that's a half a decade of no team can get past either one of those two guys in the East. Look at it that way. Who went to the finals? This is going to test my memory. Somebody answer this in the comments. Who was the last team from the East? Who made it to the finals the year before Tampa started going? Was that the Capitals? Was that when Washington won? One of you will know. I think Jackson. I'll take a sip of water. Was that when Washington win? No, but I mean, who was it? Who was it? It's Boston. Okay. But that was with Tuukka, right? That was with Tuukka. So I think it's been since Washington. I think it's been since Washington that a team from the East that didn't have like elite goaltending won that conference. So I don't know what Tampa's doing at backup goaltender, but I say it every year, and I tell you the one thing I'm looking to switch gears a little bit here. The one thing I'm looking forward to this year, I talked about this a little bit before, but I can't wait for the Ottawa games. I got to see who Nick Cousins is going to pick on. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait. When do we play Calgary? Right? Who's Lomberg going to go after? We already saw what happened with Anaheim last year with Gudas. And I forget who he went after, but he was going after guys that weren't on the team that he was on. It'd be real interesting to see when that happens. It'd be interesting to see. I want to see the Calgary-Ottawa game. I want to see if Cousins and Lomberg, right? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? But to circle back to what we said, it all starts today again. And First year of the channel, I started after game 4, game 5. We had just got shut out, I think, to St. Louis. I think we lost 4-0, 5-0. And as that's it, I went to the van and I made the video. And we weren't good. And then we weren't good. And then we weren't good. And then we started making, the play-ins, playoffs. That we started having that. Now, the year Maurice got here, I made the prediction that we're going to start slow, get better as we go, win the cup. But it wasn't so much of an expectation. It was just, I was kind of feeling my oats. I'm like, well, I predicted the Kachuk trade, so the hell with it. Let's predict the cup as well, right? That prediction was more about it being a attempted manifestation. I figured, well, as long as the things that I'm saying are happening, I may as well say we're going to win the cup, right? And damn it if they almost didn't. Damn it if they almost didn't. But then last year, I think I picked the Canes. I think I picked the Canes to make it. I don't remember who I picked to win. I might have picked the Canes. But it wasn't an expectation. There was a hope. There was a hope. Can we get back? To get back to, back-to-back cup finals, that's no small task. Chucky was coming off the injury. What was he going to look like? We didn't know anything. Who's this guy stole ours, right? We didn't know any of that. And, and look what happened. And so going into this year, I'm not going to make any predictions, but you can't go into this year with anything other than an expectation of, at a bare minimum, getting back to the finals, right? Anything can happen inside of any hockey game, and anything can happen during a hockey season. There's an injury here, an injury there. That does play into it. Who are you playing in the Eastern, seedings, right? In any of the divisions. You can look at the road that the Rangers had to get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year versus the road that the Panthers had. And it's no wonder why they beat us in overtime twice, right? Let's be honest here. The road that the Rangers have is a war. It's a whole different league than what somebody from the Atlantic has. But if everything stays copacetic, if Bob is healthy and Shesterkin is healthy and the Rangers are healthy, Panthers are healthy, or whoever it is, if we stay healthy, I can't sit there and say there's no reason why we can't win again. There's not, but there is, right? Hockey is hockey. Anything can happen, right? Rangers had us down 2-1. If game 4 goes any which way differently and we lose, it's 3-1 and it's likely over, right? For the most part. I know we came back on Boston, but, but when you look at it from an expectation spot, I thought about it the other day and I said, well, I expect that at the very least they win a round, but that don't taste right. That don't taste right. I think I would be disappointed if they didn't. You're always going to be disappointed if they don't win the cup. But I got a little bit of extra personal motivation. I talked about this on Twitter yesterday. I'm like, hey, look, what the Panthers need to do is win the damn thing again, and then somebody from that team is bringing that cup to my house so I can get a picture on Fluffy's grave with that cup. That's what, if you want to talk about what I'm trying to manifest, that's what I'm trying to manifest. I want them to win again for selfish reasons. I need a clean experience of them winning the cup and me not having to turn off the TV and go lay with the dog who can barely breathe. That wasn't cool, man. You know what I mean? So for selfish reasons, I expect that they get back. Maybe they win it again. You know, you don't want to think too far ahead, but if they win it again, can they win it again, right? Right? Am I going to be sitting in this chair next year with just a little bit more white, right? You say, well, when's the last team to three-peat? I tell you, that has to be the Oilers, right? Did the Oilers three-peat or did they two and lose? How many did they win? It's a long time ago. It's off the top of my head. I don't know the last team to three-peat, but it's been long enough that I'm so old I can't remember. Follow what I'm saying. Nope. So yeah, Jackson says the Oilers won 2-1. Okay. So then would it have been the Islanders way back in the day? Is that the last team to repeat? It would have had to have been the Islanders back in the day, right? I mean, you're talking about I might have been two, right? Yeah, that's what Jackson is saying. The last one to win more than two in a row was the Islanders like 50 years ago. So then there you go. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's win it twice. Let's win it twice. Now, if they win it again and they don't show up at my house to take a picture with the dog, then there's going to be problems. And you might see my name on the news. All right, I accept this one, right? I ain't taking no for an answer. They win that damn thing again. We will have a community meetup mutiny and grab that thing from whoever has it, and we'll form a convoy, right? Because the cops are going to chase us. We'll form a convoy, and somebody else going to have to drive though, because I can't drive the highways and the bridges. It's not a thought out plan. It's not a very well thought out plan. So they're going to have to make it happen. They'll have to make it happen. But camp, that's it, man. Here we go. It happens so quick and so slow at the same time. Like I said at the start, I don't know if it's the longest summer ever or the shortest summer ever, but it's been a hell of a summer. Kyle and I we still got a couple of week's work we have to do. You guys have watched the older podcast. You know what the dog's graves looks like. Now, this 1, 2, 3 lined up where we're going to be creating one big flower bed and getting a marble marker. So that's going to be happening over the course of the next couple of weeks. I want to get that done. I have to get it done before the season starts because it's part of the opening day intro video. So that's got to happen. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. The soil, because it's a raised bed. So I need for the size, because there's 3 grade, I need 50 bags of soil. So it's going to be $300-$400 in soil. Then I got to buy the plants and the marker. So I'm just going to go steal the stuff. I think that's what I'll do. I got a van. I'll just back up to the nursery and I'll just take the soil and drive off. A lot of crime going on in this podcast. I've had enough, right? I've had enough. I've had a long summer. You know what I mean? I'll steal the soil, and then when the cops come to arrest me, I'll tell them that I'm going to put them on the internet as stealing the soil for a dog's grave and not letting me. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's happening in the next couple of weeks. So, and then that's it. Once the games start, we've already been streaming the Dolphin games. We've already had some streams without the dogs. It's weird. It's a little bit weird. Funny thing for those of you who watch the hockey streams, it's not funny, but it is funny. So you guys know all the 2 years that we did it, there's cords everywhere because I got the Ethernet and I got the microphone and I've got all these things plugged in, right? And the dogs would walk back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they never tripped over the cords. Now, Ellie got tangled once, but nothing happened, right? Nothing happened. And so hockey ends, Fluffy passes, and then Karen left. And the day after Karen left, I had never mentioned this to Kyle before. I don't know why I said it, but I said it. The day after she left, I pointed at the Ethernet cord and I said, now, Kyle, when you're walking around, because he shuffles his feet, I said, be careful when you're walking around with the Ethernet cord, because I don't want you to pull the cord and knock the laptop. So the laptop sits up against the wall on top of a wood stove. And the Ethernet cord runs from the other room all the way and plugged in. So what's he do? He's shuffling his feet. He walks right over the Ethernet cord and just this laptop goes flying off of the wood stove onto the cement floor. Now, the screen did not break, but I can't show it to you here, but it completely yanked the whole Ethernet port out of the laptop. So I had to buy a USB adapter. So it's plugged into the USB, and then that's plugged into the Ethernet. And then I had to get a USB splitter so I can plug the mic and the camera in on this side. And all those years, and the dogs never did it one time. And I never said anything about it. And as soon as I told him to be careful about it, he shuffled his feet, laptop went flying. The corners all busted. The whole Ethernet port got ripped out. So I had to move this one upstairs because, okay, it's just going to stay here. You know what I mean? And then I stream with the other one now. Yeah, totally ironic, right? It just that's the kind of summer it was, right? It's like it wasn't enough that the dog died and then the girlfriend left, but the day after, why don't we break the $1,200 laptop? It just is like, let's just put the cherry right on the top. There you go. I might have had a moment. I'm not going to lie. Now, I didn't yell at him. I yelled at everything. I might have definitely had an explosive moment in that moment. Oh, and that was the other part to it. Yeah. That was the second part to it. The night before, on top of the stove, I had burned some incense. And you know how you got the incense holder and then you got all the ash that's there? Well, when he yanked the laptop off of the stove, the incense thing went after it and the whole laptop was covered in incense and I had to dust it all out and brush it all off. I knew there was a part that I was forgetting. So it can only get better, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we'll get ready to close this up. Now, miraculously today, the internet, just fine. I don't know what happened yesterday. Whatever. But we managed to do this today without any glitches. Hopefully it remains that way, right? If you guys have been a fan of this channel, you know the internet struggles we've had. They did fix it. Finally, after like the third or fourth guy came, this is after the season, after you guys know we were having trouble last year. I had a guy come give us a new modem and another guy. And finally, like the third guy came and he's like, oh yeah, I can see the problem, but it's out there. It's an outside problem. So another guy came and they did something and it worked a little bit better. And then I had to call him again. And then another guy came. So that's 5. There's 5 different guys that took. And then finally he got it fixed to where that would have been like August, first week of August. We've had zippity-doo-dah problems, no problems at all until yesterday's podcast. And then that includes all the football streams. And then today has been good. So hopefully the problem is as close to fixed permanently as it can be. I'll put it that way. All right. By tomorrow, we'll have more content with the interviews and everything that the players and a little bit more with Maurice, I'm sure. And then tomorrow they start skating back and forth and forth and back and forth and back. And then I will let you all know on Friday how I'm handling the preseason doubleheader that is on Sunday, right smack dab in the middle of the Dolphins getting blown out by the Seattle Seahawks. That's a different story. All right. Again, you've been watching the Flying Fluffy Hockey podcast that is live for members and Patreon supporters exclusively Monday through Friday at noon. And then I make it public here for everybody else to watch. Appreciate all the support. And we will see you tomorrow when camp really begins.